Man, that armor and Sean Connery, that's a guy who apparently knew how to party.
Just ridiculously sexy glam rock 80s Sean
I love it.
Connery.
I love it.
We're back to discuss another 1980s fantasy film. This is the truly glorious 1984 movie, Sword of the Valiant, The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And if you haven't heard of this movie, well, it actually has a stacked cast and is certainly one of the weirdest fantasy movies we have seen, also most unintentionally hilarious, especially because Sean Connery stars as a glitter-covered Green Knight.
It's hard to tell if it's glitter or sweat most of the time, though. I think it's supposed to be glitter, but it also comes off as just a very sweaty look.
That's Sean Connery for you. And also, he has a glorious hole in the middle of his armor, which seems like it would be very dangerous. And indeed, as we find out at the end of the movie, it is very dangerous to have a hole in the center of your armor. Does this have anything to do with the story of the Green Knight? No. And if you have seen our other show, Foreplay, we just did The Green Knight, the new movie. So it's an interesting time to do this one in particular. There's lots of weird stuff. First off, Miles O'Keefe is back. You guys may remember him from our A-Tor reviews. He is terrible once again. And apparently,
awesome. Shut up.
Apparently, the director wanted Mark Hamill to be the lead role of Gawain, which... Right. You know, there's no guarantee that would have happened, but they did get some other really good actors in this film, including Peter Cushing, who was on Star Wars with Mark Hamill. But apparently the producer insisted that Miles O'Keefe was the man for the job. This is a truly terrible movie, but it also contains a lot of good actors, like John Rhys-Davies, who was Gimli in Lord of the Rings, is just randomly in this as well.
Yeah, and Ronald Lacey, who played the villain in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's you've got some interesting.
And John Rhys-Davies was also as Sala in the
exactly. So you've actually got a point in this movie where the villain from the Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars: A New Hope team up, which I think is one of the coolest things I've seen so far in our 80s fantasy movie watch through. I'm like, whoa! It's not often when you get. Whatever that character's name in Raiders was, I can't remember. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
Name. Him and Grand Moff Tarkin in the same room being bad together. That's cool.
He was like the lead Nazi guy.
Yeah. You know, also he apparently he's just typecast as a villain who sustains serious burns. I guess that's part of bringing him into your movie. He has to be like burnt horribly at some point in their film.
As you guys know from our conversation in The Green Knight, the film, the issue with adapting The Green Knight, the text, into a film format is that there really isn't much that happens. So basically every film that approaches The Green Knight has the following problem. You have the starting scene, which is very compelling, where the Green Knight rides in to Arthur's court, says, I challenge you to strike me, and in a year I will return that blow. Gawain steps up, cuts off his head. The Green Knight lives, rides out of the court holding his head. In this case, he reattaches it to his body. And then the poem says, and then some stuff happened. And then we fast forward to the end where Gawain is close to the Green Chapel and is in the what we call Swinger's Castle, getting the sash that will allegedly save his life. The Swinger's Castle is because basically he's kissing this guy's wife while he is out hunting, and they're exchanging what they won during the day. So then he ends up kissing the dude whose wife kissed him because he has to give the kiss, and the guy who is hunting brings him the stuff that he hunted. Yes, that's just the story. Anyway, and then he goes to the Green Chapel and ends up not dying to the Green Knight because he fulfills his duty and his promise. Now, that's very important because the core theme of the story is that you do your duty, and it's not that you kill the Green Knight because you have the invincible sash. In fact, Gawain lying about having the invincible sash causes him great shame at the end of the story. in the end of this one, he just survives the blow and then stabs Sean Connery through the hole in his armor.
He's like, ha ha.
You've had your cut. The game is over.
What? You tell me when my game is over? I make the rules, boy. I make the
Like,
so we
yeah,
learned
that's
nothing. Basically, we learned nothing. And there is no moral.
Well-
there is no theme. There is no heart to this movie. It's just kind of trash, but it is
yeah.
super funny, this movie.
It is really funny. And the thing is, too, is that they tried to take this story and turn it into like a lighthearted, fun adventure thing. There's a lot of, I'll say, attempts at humor in this that are there. And yes, and they try to kind of fill in the gaps with just sort of random, I would say, beats that we've seen in a lot of other 80s fantasy movies. Like we run right out of the castle and straight into the witch in a cave scenario, which is one that we've talked about many, many times, where it's like our heroes wandering through the forest, like, oh, it's a cave, or it's in this case, it's a tent that becomes a cave, right? But it's like, it's some sort of thing that our hero wants to wander into. And inside he meets a magical woman who usually tries to seduce him in some way. In this case, sends him to like another realm where he meets like a girlfriend. But it's the witch in the cave. So right away we get that classic 80s fantasy beat, the witch in the cave, and it just kind of goes on from there.
Yeah, and this movie is just all filler. But let's start with the beginning, because this has to be one of the weirdest takes on the Gawain and the Green Knight story, because Arthur...
Hair-wise, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Oh, hair-wise, I mean, he looks fabulous. But
best haircut we've seen so far in the 80s fantasy films, I think.
The thing is, Arthur hates his own party at the start of this, which is really deeply weird. So they're having a feast. Now, in the story, the Knights of the Round Table, they love having feasts. They love a good party. They love drinking. Yeah, exactly. And it's also Christmas, so they're having a good time. They're celebrating Christmas. And in this one, Arthur throws a party and then chastises all the knights for their opulence and the fact that they're having a party, which makes the tone really strange. Because it's like, Arthur, if you hate excess, why did you throw the party?
Because he wanted to create a reason to bring this up. He wanted a real life example to draw from in his speech, you know? Or maybe he was deep in his cups, as they say, by that time of the party, and just pined for the glory days. Either way, it does kind of ruin the mood a little bit.
He totally destroys his own party's vibe, and then the Green Knight rocks up and challenges everybody to the game. Arthur,
with that outfit, that brings the vibe right back, though. I gotta say, Sean Connery rocking up there in his sparkling green armor with his like the big like hole in the front of it to show off his hairy chest. He's like, "Hey, somebody cut my head off." I'm like, that'll bring the party right back to a 10. If King Arthur brought it down to like a 4, you know, people are hanging out, but it still doesn't feel very good. Man, that armor and Sean Connery. That's a guy who apparently knew how to party.
Just ridiculously sexy glam rock 80s Sean Connery.
I love it.
Oh, come. The sport is simple. A cut for a cut, and yours to be the first. Who's going to deal me my blow? Who's the jolly gambler to play my game? Who shall lay his pride, his prowess, his courage on the line of my neck?
Right from the beginning, it's just so entertaining. And like I said, they give him a lot of bronzer. Like he's very bronze. And I'm not sure again if this was just like part of the Sean Connery package at the time in the 80s, or if this was something they did. Again, I do believe they're trying to make him sparkly. But it just
they definitely are. He's covered in glitter, though. He's covered in glitter.
But it also makes, because of the lighting, though, it also just makes him look very sweaty, which, again, he probably was that, too. But yeah, I mean, you got a like big green hairy sweaty guy busting in your party telling people to cut his own head off with an axe. Like that's a good time, right? And Miles O'Keefe, surprisingly the only one, Gawain rather, I should say, is the only one who's willing to step up and take the challenge. He's got a lot of forward momentum on the axe swing with the hair. The hair it kind of looks like he was going for like a mushroom kind of thing. But the way it curls, it is glorious. It's like an anime version of Prince Valiant, if you've ever seen that comic from a long time ago.
Well,
Or
I mean,
He-Man.
it was clearly inspired by Prince Valiant.
Of course, it's even called
which
Sword
is
of the
why
Valiant.
it's called
Come
Sword
on.
of the Valiant instead of
Sir. Come on, canon films.
Gawain
All right.
and the Green Knight.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to play into that and definitely trying to play into that vibe.
Sure.
I do think like this scene is also super funny because the practical effects, I don't know what the budget of this film was, though. Clearly they had a lot of talented actors, and
sure.
it wasn't like some of the other 80s fantasy films that we've seen where they're reusing a bunch of shots. But the practical effects of Sean Connery's talking head on the floor are just awful. They're
just so much fun though.
Bad.
Like I applaud them wholeheartedly, enthusiastically for doing an animatronic severed head to try to make it look like Sean Connery's head was talking. They didn't cheap out and like have him lying on the floor with like, I don't know, like they could have had like a table or like a plate or something fall when he fell. He like, cuts the head off and the body accidentally sweeps some stuff off the table onto the floor. And then like that's covering the fact that like it's clearly just him lying on the ground, and they're they actually went to the trouble of making an animatronic Sean Connery head, which I love. It looks goofy, but I really can't applaud the effort enough. This movie does go the extra mile.
But
in a lot of ways.
They did cheap out on the effect. My favorite one is when his body picks up the head, and then they just conveniently don't show above his neckline, so that it's just when they go up, it's just a shot of Sean Connery holding his head and
He's
like pretending to
like
reattach it.
Which it was the 80s. I don't know. But that's they spent all their money for that scene on the animatronic head for sure, and on Sean Connery's body glitter, I think.
Well, it certainly wasn't on the writing, Noah, because this movie tonally is just deeply confused, because sometimes it's trying to be funny, which because of the bad production value honestly makes it feel like they're trying to be Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, it did feel inspired by that.
It has a lot of feeling of that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's intentional. They're obviously trying to be funny in certain parts, but they put it at just the weirdest times. They don't really get like how to insert humor into the story, Like he'll be killing a bunch of people, and then like one of them will comically slide down the banister after being killed, and you're like, I guess that's funny. That's supposed to be funny, right? But I don't know. Or Miles O'Keefe or Gawain will say a funny quip or something, but it'll be very awkwardly timed. I don't have any examples of this. I should have written.
I have a great example, though.
Oh, you do? Good. Okay, good.
One of the gags that they try and pull is very early on in the film when Gawain is fighting this Black Knight who's the guardian of a mythical kingdom called Leoness.
Oh yeah.
And they basically, his squire says, "But Gawain, that armor is purely ceremonial. It can't hold up, right? And it bends super easily. And then the horse steps on it, and then it's just like a flat cartoon gauntlet. Like his gauntlet just gets completely flattened, as just pancaked, as if his gauntlet is made out of the weakest, most malleable metal of all time.
The king's armor. It's only ceremonial. He hadn't fought in years. It's not heavy plate.
You mean like the Black Knights?
But you'll be lighter on your feet.
Great if he asked me to dance.
And it's like,
I think it's...
wait. Arthur sent you on a quest with useless armor as, what is this, as a joke? But also the armor jokes are hilarious. He's like, I have to go pee. And he gives him this key and he's like, oh, okay. It opens his...
Like he didn't have that
with his
beforehand.
crotch key.
I mean, how many hours can he hold it? Because I feel like it's between putting the armor on, the ceremony goodbye, all that, like it's crazy. But like that. So let's go back to your example though, because you could do it in a funny way where, you know, King Arthur is old and kind of doddering and he has this set of armor, but it's clearly ceremonial. And like you could have Gawain kind of accept it being like, okay, sure, you know, and then like he's riding out of the castle and he tells the squires like, all right, first thing we got to get a real set of armor, you know, and you make this a known thing so that then you throw him into this conflict before he has a chance to replace the armor, and then it's like, uh-oh, now I got to fight in this crappy armor, you know. And you could have turned it into sort of like a funny part of that fight then if you had done it that way, but where they're just suddenly like, oh, it's bad armor, and he's like surprised by this, then you're like, well, is Gawain just an idiot? But like then again, if we think back, the very first thing he tried to do after leaving the castle is eat a unicorn. So that kind of tells us all we need to know about Gawain.
I forgot about that.
That's right. The very first thing they do after leaving the castle, oh, I think he pees first, but then they like see a unicorn, like let's kill it and eat it.
And his squire says it's a sin to kill a unicorn. He's like, I don't care. It's magic. I'm going to eat the magic unicorn meat.
Let's do the noble thing. Quick, raise your bow, Humphrey.
But you can't kill a unicorn.
Then what are we doing?
It's magical. It's a sign of good luck.
Precisely. Good luck that we found something to eat.
It tastes like horse meat.
No, magical, you said. That means it'll taste good. Come on.
Which I gotta say made me really like this character more. You know, this is a pretty bold take on Gawain and his loyalty and all that kind of stuff. It's like, nah, I'm just gonna eat this unicorn, which is great. It leads us to the witch in the cave scene, of course. But like, I do love that, you know, the very first thing he tries to do on his quest is eat a unicorn.
And this leads us to how badly made this movie is, just from purely a craft of cinema perspective, Doa, because I just lost it during the witch when Morgan Le Fay is in the cave and they're eating all this free food, not questioning where it comes from. And then Morgan Le Fay appears and gets into an argument with Gawain about obviously eating the free food and assuming that it belonged to them, which, to be fair to the story, that is a huge Arthurian trope, which is like the young knight is a boor, fucks up, you know, doesn't have manners and has to learn them, right? Has to learn how to behave. That is a massive trope in Arthurian literature. So I'm totally down with this concept, by the way. You know, these are in many ways coming of age stories for young men, and this is to teach them how to behave in society. But what's funny about the craft, Doa, is that there is a sequence of shots where Gawain is threatening Morgan Le Fay. So she appears and then he starts to get heated with her. He pulls out his knife. Now he's facing her, right? He's facing her and they're having this conversation. And then the next shot, when you know he's facing her, is a reaction turn from Gawain. So it goes from facing her to him moving his head very suddenly to look over at her when we established that he was actually looking at her previously. So what I think happened is they probably just filmed a bunch of reaction shots in this scene and then randomly used one. But there's no reason for him to turn away. So it just looks really fucking funny from a filmmaking perspective where he's looking at her, and then the next shot is him like, whoa! Like turning his head back to her. Like, wait, we established he was looking at, why is he looking away? And so just from the filmmaking conventions to make the viewer feel as though they are in this scene and it makes logical sense with where the characters are. It completely threw me out of the scene and I just burst out laughing because it's so blatant and so ridiculous. And I have no idea why anyone would edit this scene in that fashion.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, like, this is the only coverage we have for this cut, and so we're just going to use it and hope someone notices. But of course, someone will notice, as we did. And like, I just kind of expect things like that. There's another scene later in the movie where he catches an arrow, you can like see the rope that's pulling the arrow to him, like going through his hands and stuff. He puts his hand up way earlier than the arrow gets it, so it's like he's standing there on the top of this wall, and then he goes like this, and I'm like, why did he put his hand up? And then this arrow just comes up and he catches it. I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. You can kind of see it's dark, but you can still kind of see it a little bit. But so that's there. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff like that in this, but you kind of accept it. I mean, when you watch a movie like this, you're almost surprised if there's not things like this.
It makes
in there,
it funnier.
You know?
To be fair,
Yeah,
it does actually
does.
make it more entertaining.
It does. It's great.
However, what doesn't make it more entertaining, Doa, is the concept. Like, this film can't decide whether or not it wants Gawain to be a great warrior and a great knight, or some rube young imbecile. And the problem with that is, when he fights for example, when he fights the Black Knight, the Guardian of Lyonesse, apparently the Guardian of Lyonesse, this Black Knight, is the most incredible warrior. And by the way, he starts mounted versus Gawain on foot. And Gawain has no armor, as we said earlier, that can protect him because his armor is terrible. And somehow the Black Knight loses this fight where he decides to use a lance on a guy on the ground, which is just objectively ridiculous. You just pull out your sword and do a drive-by on him. And then the advantages of being mounted versus an unmounted combatant with garbage armor are insane. And even then, okay, he gets to the ground and they're having this fight. Again, not effective armor. And Gawain somehow beats him. But he is presented as being such an idiot. A lot of
he didn't
the
even
time.
know the armor was bad until the guy crushed
He didn't even
it.
know the
like,
armor.
yeah,
he didn't even know how to
right.
pee in the armor, and now he's beating like the greatest knight. It's so weird the way that they do this.
There's also this.
Sir Knight, let it not be said I've not been chivalrous.
Yeah. There's also this dissonance that goes along with all of what you're saying too, in that like Miles O'Keefe in this role looks way older than you would imagine like a squire in King Arthur's court would be. So it kind of makes him look like the squire that like failed out of like knight school a bunch of times or something like that. And that's knight with a K, not knight, just like not that he was just taking classes at night or something like that. It's like Knigh, knight. But that, like, why is he a squire when he's still like so old? And like, it's not that he looks old. He just definitely doesn't look like a young squire, if that makes sense. You know, this is post
in this case a young knight because he has his own squire. But yes, I mean your point stands.
Well, no, he's a squire at the start of the movie, and then
That's
he
true.
becomes a knight when he does when he hacks off Sean Connery's head, right? So he starts the movie as a squire, and already he looks older than a lot of other people. But like, there is another big note on people being older than other people in this movie that I want to get to in a little bit. Remind me, because it's very funny. But anyway, that I feel like that adds an aura of like weirdness to it that like you're talking about too, where he doesn't really, I don't really like think he fits the character that they're trying to make him portray, you know?
Yeah. And then we get into a romance with this character, Lynette, who is advocating that he's the greatest warrior of all time, which he clearly is not. And I think that's another problem, Noah, is that we talked about this when we did Conan the Barbarian and Ator, which is that Miles O'Keefe has many problems. First off, he can't act. Second off is he can't fight. And so when you look at Conan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, he looks the part. And Arnold Schwarzenegger may not be the greatest actor, but he does actually have some charm to him. And especially in a role like Conan, he's very good. But he can actually fight. And the difference in the way that Arnold moves versus Miles O'Keefe, when we look at this, it's not believable, just like in Ator, it wasn't believable that he is this insane warrior because his actual fighting skills don't look good. And
yeah, that's yeah.
And it's not just a fault of choreography. The choreography is also bad, to be clear, but it's just that he moves in a way that isn't believable of him being mighty. And if you want the believable version, just look at Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan and you will see what that looks like.
I mean, I might be wrong, but it doesn't seem like he's gotten any like martial arts practice, you know, any sort of like even boxing or something like that. He does, like, I agree with you, that doesn't really seem to move like a fighter, right? But like he ended up getting a BA in psychology apparently, and he was a counselor at a prison in Tennessee, I guess, for a while. and that was his like life. And then he eventually went to become an actor, and he became one with Tarzan in 1981. And he's got like this very chiseled look, right, which makes him
his
look
look is
good
amazing
for these roles. Yeah, he looks great. And I think he does have like a very expressive face too, but he doesn't have an expressive face that looks like very threatening. He looks too nice, which is one of the reasons I really like love him and everything I've seen him, because he looks so nice, right? He does look like somebody who would listen to your problems and give you good advice. You know, I would pour my life's concerns out to Miles O'Keefe. Sure. You know, he looks like someone who would want to listen and you know, respond well. But, you know, when he moves in a fight like this, yeah, it looks a little bit strange. So I do agree that the same issues that we had in Ator and stuff kind of crop up here too, which is puzzling.
He's just, I mean, and I think this is what caused him to not really have any kind of breakthrough. Like, I don't know if he was doing additional training or anything, like, but he just can never cross that threshold. And I feel like
he was so close so many times.
If you're going to be a great 80s action actor, right? 80s, 90s action actor, you got to have two of the three things. And the three things are acting ability, a physique, and the ability to fight. Okay. And the people who have at least two of these became massive stars. Jean-Claude Van Damme is a terrible actor, like actually way worse than Miles O'Keefe. But holy moly, Jean-Claude Van Damme can fight, and he looks insane. So, like, Bloodsport is a really enjoyable movie, despite Jean-Claude Van Damme's terrible acting, because Jean-Claude Van Damme is moving in a way that is very believable, and he's an excellent kickboxer.
Yeah, I mean, you could use Chuck Norris as an example here too, where, like, sure, he's got the physique. He's he, you know, is, and I would say his, in this particular case, it's not necessarily 2 out of 3. But you have to have like a medium level of the other two if you don't have it completely. Like he looked okay fighting, and then he looked okay acting, I think too, you know?
I mean, I think I think probably fighting was his strong suit. And if anything,
acting
his
again, I think
was kind of mid.
there,
I mean, compared to like Jean-Claude Van Damme or Arnold, like those guys,
well, sure,
insane.
But, you know, but he was going for kind of the everyman thing, right? But
sure,
like it's but
he had more of the like sideshow strong man.
Yeah.
Look.
Well, the point, or Jesse Ventura, another great example, right?
Sure.
But so when we go back to Miles O'Keefe, you know, I really like him. I like seeing him in things, you know, for all the reasons that we've said. But like, it is crazy how it feels like he came so close, you know, to being this like big leading man, and just
I
never
think he
quite
was just like a little bit better at acting or fighting.
Right.
Like he actually breaks into the mainstream. Is my point.
It's really close, and that's why like I struggle to say anything bad about him, because I do feel like it's so close, you know. And even now in the year 2026, I want him to get there, you know. But I don't know. It just feels like everything is just a little bit. Everything in the acting department and the fight choreography department is a little bit lower than it should be. And to be fair, the movies that he's in, Ator, this one, I doubt he was getting a lot of good direction when it comes to fight stuff. I feel like he was 100% on his own to try to come up with his fight choreography. You know, I don't know if that's true, but I would imagine that other people like Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, with the movies they're in, they probably got a lot more help looking good in fight scenes than Miles O'Keefe did. Right. So I think that is, we have to be fair there too, where I feel like he had less support for the movies.
It is also true that Jean-Claude Van Damme came in as a very accomplished martial artist before he even started.
That too, too. So there are advantages, I think, that others had that he didn't. Jesse Ventura, famous wrestler, right? Hulk Hogan, famous wrestler. Basically, you just got to be a famous wrestler. That was Miles O'Keefe's
but like
problem.
Hulk Hogan, you know, we just did Suburban Commando, and Hulk Hogan. The thing about Hulk Hogan is he's not a good actor, but he has a presence and charisma that
his
Miles
character
O'Keefe
is fun.
Lacks,
and Hulk Hogan can just be that character in every movie.
Yes.
You know, so Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, the problem is I don't really know what Miles O'Keefe's character is.
That's the thing. It's like all his characters were so poorly written. It's hard to really establish something, right? You know, and I think it would be like sensitive strong man is what I would probably give to him, because again, his face
not amazing for a leading role.
even when he's looking angry, he still looks kind of like friendly, where it's like, oh, are you really mad, Tarzan? Are you really angry, Ator? I don't know. It's like the type of angry where it's like, you're like, oh, I'm sorry. And he'd be like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it, So, there's not that menace there, I will say, which is fine. But I think you need good writing to back that kind of stuff up too. And again, this movie had terrible writing and terrible dialogue. And to a certain extent, you are a victim of the script you're performing too. So,
Yes, but also there were actors in this movie, and if you are playing off of good actors, and he is a lot of the time, you should be able to act better. I'm sorry, like even with a bad script, if you're acting opposite some of the people in this film, it should level up your game too, but it doesn't in his case. It doesn't.
He's gotten to act with so many good actors too. I mean, like, regardless of how the movies ended up, like what a career, what a cool career to get to like work with so many awesome people like this, even if, again, he didn't become like the superstar leading man, like what an awesome, like adventure it probably was. Right. I mean, just in this movie alone, we talked about it, but it's like, Sean Connery, Ronald Lacey, Peter Cushing, John Rhys-Davies. You've got even what's the name? David Rappaport, the little person actor that's in like Time Bandits and things like that. He played a lot of characters in the 80s, and it's always fun to see his character pop up. But I found out in this movie there's one more Star Wars connection that you may not have realized, Monty.
Oh yeah.
Can you guess what it is? I'll let you guess.
No.
Guess what the other Star Wars connection movie to this movie is, aside from Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin.
I don't know.
It is Mike Edmonds, who plays the little person that Miles O'Keefe roughs up going to visit Sage. Also played the Ewok Logray in Return of the Jedi.
All right.
There you go. You didn't see his face in Return of the Jedi because he was an Ewok.
This came out after Return of the Jedi too. So
yeah, that's called doing your research.
well done.
Yep. Gotta find out. I was like, what else was he in? It turns out he was in the Logray suit. So there you go.
What do you want?
I've come to see the sage.
I'm afraid the sage is busy. Maybe another day.
Oh, really?
All right. Maybe it's not that busy. Come on.
But I want to talk for a moment about age, because we talked too about how like Miles O'Keefe looks a little bit too old to be the fresh-faced squire that goes out on this adventure that he's just not quite ready for. He lacks life experience. But when I was watching John Rhys-Davies and Ronald Lacey interact as father and son, I thought to myself, Oswald, like he keeps calling John Rhys-Davies' character father, but they look like they're the same age. I mean, like, this is weird. And I looked it up, and it turns out that Ronald Lacey is actually 9 years older than John Rhys-Davies. So they were playing father and son when the son was 9 years older in real life than the father. And if you look at Ronald Lacey's character, and it just looks ridiculous because he's clearly like a middle-aged man, but they gave him like this child, medieval child bowl cut, and he's kind of acting like a child a little bit. And I'm like, this is just disturbing.
You with the fancy boots. Don't you know how to use a sword better than that?
No. Show me.
I also
it's
appreciated
very
his
obvious.
death scene at the end of the movie because Peter Cushing is just lying there on a palanquin, and
Peter Cushing's awesome.
He just orders them not to save him, even though, again, Peter Cushing is the advisor. He's not the Lord, and he orders the Lord's men to not shoot Gawain.
Yeah.
And just let him die, which they obey for some reason.
Well, because nobody likes Oswald. That's why. That's what we find out. Like, nobody likes him. They're just like, they don't like him to the extent that it's like, yeah, we'll let him die, even though he's the son of our Lord. But like, that is another scene that has that humor that just doesn't quite land, because Oswald's like, shoot him in the back, and then like the archer shoots like their guy, and he's like, not that back, and it's like that kind of humor where it's too stupid to be true that this would ever happen, that the guy would be like, why would he want me to shoot our own guy? Okay, I'll shoot him, like it's supposed to be funny, but you're just like, even in a silly fantasy adventure film, that's too stupid, and so it's just, somebody thought it'd be funny and it wasn't.
Casper! Shoot him in the back. Wrong bag, Casper.
But they needed a reason for Oswald to fight Miles O'Keefe personally, I guess, and that's why they did it. But they could have just had Miles like kill the other guy too. I don't know.
Yeah, and there is a really terrible love story in this that makes no goddamn sense. Where he finds Lynette and she convinces everybody that Gawain's a great warrior, but then they attack him and they both escape from the castle, and then she gets frozen and he unfreezes her. And then,
burned, but not burned.
There's this overarching plot of the Green Knight, right? And Gawain's supposed to visit him, but then he gets mad because Lynette gives him a ring of invisibility, and he's like, "That's not the game." And you're like, "What is the game? What is the game?" Sean Connery.
He didn't really lay down a lot of ground rules, did he? He just said, "Come, solve this riddle in a year, or I'll kill you." Is basically the rules of the game.
Also, the riddle's not part of the actual story either, so that was weird.
Right. So I didn't understand that. I don't know why they needed to give him like the one ring to let him turn invisible and all that, but like,
but it's so funny because when he gets the ring and he's just like, "Oh, I got this ring," Sean Connery responds, the Green Knight responds, and this is just what happens, guys. This is a literal description of what happens. He goes to Morgan Le Fay, uses his green finger laser to turn her into a frog, then takes over her crystal ball and astral projects to Gawain to yell at him from the sky, saying that you're breaking the rules of the game. What game? Again, what game is he talking about? And why does the invisibility ring break the game? Who knows? And what's the consequences of breaking the game? Also, who knows? That's none of that is ever clear.
You can't see your neck, I guess. I don't know.
You're not playing my game, Gawain. You have a ring, and it does not belong to you.
But Lynette gave it to me. You shall not have it.
Where life is gladness, emptiness.
But if I were Gawain and like suddenly this Green Knight that previously was kind of menacing just appeared in the air, was like, "Hey, you're not playing the game right," I'd be like, "All right, we're done. We're done. Forget it. Like, I'm not going to show up at the Green Chapel." Yep. Also like the Morgan Le Fay as a frog thing. Did he kill her at the end? Because he slashed the frog when it was talking to him, and it turned out to be like a ceramic frog. He just ended up ruining somebody's like garden decoration from the Midwest or something, Poor garden decoration.
And so, yes, we got a bunch of nonsense, and eventually Lynette gives him not only the ring, but the sash. And the sash is part of the poem, right? The sash is supposed to protect him. It's the item he doesn't disclose that he received, which is the cause of dishonor in the poem, because he basically lies about this. And in the end, what happens, and what's so great about, the Green Knight is that the Green Knight, the new movie, right? That came out a few years ago that we talked about on Foreplay. Yeah, the A24 one. Is that, the idea that he has this thing that makes him immortal, unable to be hurt, is the cause of his shame because he's not actually facing the consequences of his actions. However, in this one, he just survives the blow that Sean Connery gives and then turns around and stabs him and kills the Green Knight. And then that's supposed to be a victory because he solved this riddle, which involved killing him. Also, he dies in the most hilarious way where he just turns gray and then
melts, kind of. He implodes like a pumpkin you left out for too long after Halloween.
Just as every green shoot of spring returns at last to the earth from which it woke to life, so return I.
Yeah, so I didn't really understand that part either. This was a great victory.
Well, it's also like, what lesson was I supposed to learn at the end of this movie?
Well, they didn't really explain the sash in this movie too. Like I didn't know that it made him invincible. Did I just miss that line or something?
I think you did, but it's a very minor part, and it's a major part of the story, the original story. But Lynette just kind of gives it to him here, and it's very weird.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yep. So he succeeds, and we don't really end up seeing like the conclusion. We don't really see the results of this much. The movie ends with a freeze frame of him just kind of looking off to the side. It's a very
Well,
80s
Lynette turns
fantasy
into
way
a
to end.
bird.
Oh yeah, she's like, I can't stay with you. All that stuff was for nothing. I'm a bird. Goodbye.
And we learned nothing, and nothing. There's no satisfying conclusion, because this whole romance ends with she's like, I must go, my people need me, turns into a bird and just flies away. And so the Green Knight's dead. We learned nothing from that. What was the
Except
game?
for
We don't
cover
know.
your chest if you're wearing armor. That's what we learned from him. Yeah.
And then
chest hair won't save you.
what's the end of the love story? She just turns into a bird and leaves. So
Well,
what's Gawain to do?
Doesn't he ask if he can come with her too? And she's like, no, bye.
Yeah, just goes to Leoness and just pieces out.
Yeah, I mean, like, why couldn't he go back and just be? Why can't he be their champion now? They talked about that earlier. Now it seems like he has a good reason to live there and do that. You know, who cares? Does he really want to go back to like King Arthur's parties? That doesn't seem like a lot of fun.
Yeah, King Arthur throws the lame party. He tries to get you drunk and then harshes the vibe immediately by calling
now
you
that the Green Knight is dead too, like nobody can save it. The vibe is permanently harshed. Yeah, it's a tragedy, really. But the best part about this whole film, though, Monty, in my opinion, might actually be the music. Because
it's so bad.
It is an incredible synth. There's like one 4-minute track that comprises the entire soundtrack. They just keep playing. It's like do 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 do. It sounds like the intro to like a corporate training video. If you're like, you just started a job and like HR wheels in the little like laptop on a cart or something like that and turns it on and it plays that sound. Go look it up. Well, we should include a link for this in the description. But like it plays this sound and then it's like Global Corp has your core competency in mind, while this is playing. And that's every time I thought of that. It sounds like an 80s corporate theme, but it just keeps going over and over and over again. And I hate it.
It's completely out of place.
Yes, it doesn't sound like anything that belongs in a fantasy movie. Yeah.
And we've heard some wild synth scores. Shout out Hawk the Slayer. But that was actually kind of like low-key a banger.
The Blade Master. Really bad, too. So here's a question. We actually have 2 Miles O'Keefe movies with terrible synth soundtracks to compare here, because Ator the Blade Master, Ator 2, also had a really, really bad one. And I think it might have been worse, but I think it might have been varied enough that I think it might have actually been overall better.
This was one of the worst film soundtracks I have ever heard, though. I think this one stands out as the absolute worst of all of the films that we've watched. It is so bad.
Yeah, I agree too, because it doesn't fit at all. It sounds goofy. It made me laugh whenever it came on, and it's so short. Like that, like I said, I don't think I'm exaggerating. Where it's basically like 4 minutes of soundtrack, and they just keep using little snippets of it for the entire movie. I get so tired of it. But I also am going to be hearing it in my sleep tonight. Yep. But beyond that, I mean, I will say that this was one of the more entertaining movies we've watched.
It was. It is really funny, by the way.
Yeah, it's unintentionally funny in all the best ways. So I can't recommend it enough. It's got a stacked cast, and like it's legitimately really fun to see Peter Cushing and Ronald Lacey and John Rhys-Davies, because they're all really good. Like Sean Connery is good in this too. Like there's a lot of like fun performances just because the actors themselves are just so good that no matter what you put them in, they're going to be compelling. It's
also glitter Sean Connery is just objectively hilarious.
It's super. It's a very memorable look. Green armor, glitter Sean Connery with like the giant opening in the chest and all the hair and the pecs. You're just like, wow, that is a vibe in itself. I don't think it's going to come back, but maybe.
And Sean Connery, he was a very active actor, and he was in a lot of like very weird movies over the
Yeah,
years.
Ice Pirates, right? There's a lot of weird stuff in the 80s.
Zardoz, the
Zardoz,
70s sci-fi film that he was in, which is a John Borman movie who also did Excalibur, which is one of the movies that we talked about in our 1980s fantasy marathon here. He, in this time period, he actually, right after this in 86, did Highlander and Loki, a banger is The Name of the Rose, which is a movie not very many people have seen, but is excellent, like really good. The Name of the Rose.
Wait, was he not in Ice Pirates? Am I misremembering things?
I haven't seen that one. But he was also in Time Bandits, which we've done as part of this too. So
right.
He's been in a bunch of like kind of odd sci-fi fantasy movies. Obviously, he was very famous for saying that turning down the role of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings because he, quote, didn't understand it.
Oh, right. It's not he's not in Ice Pirates.
Okay.
For some reason. I must have been thinking of Ron Perlman.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But he turned down Gandalf because he didn't understand it, which makes me wonder, like, so therefore I have to conclude he understood all of these other fantasy and sci-fi roles that he was a part of or thought he did.
I don't know.
I don't really know what to make of that.
Turning down Gandalf because you don't understand it is just, I don't know, maybe it's peak Sean Connery. I have no idea. But what a career he had.
I'm not even going to say this is the worst movie he's been in because League of Extraordinary Gentlemen exists.
That's a fair point.
He's at least not out of place.
Die.
Like his Scottish accent, I love him regardless of the fact that his accent makes him stand out a lot of the times, like very famously as a Spaniard in Highlander, very famously as a Soviet submarine captain in The Hunt for Red October. He is still, he's bad in Highlander, but he is really good in The Hunt for October. And he definitely took a lot of swings, and he seemed to like doing a lot of these fantasy movies. He's in so many of them.
Did stuff because
he's in Dragonheart.
Yeah,
he's great
Highlander,
in Dragonheart as the voice of the dragon. He did a lot of like really fun movies, and especially like once you hit the 90s, he's in a lot of really actually very fun stuff.
He was hilarious in Indiana Jones and Last Crusade too.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Like this is his career is so bizarre because the highs were so high, and then but he was ultimately, I think, mostly just like a popcorn actor. Like he went after not highbrow stuff.
Well, I think I feel like that's a big mark in his favor, right? Where it's like, I love the actors that can be in really good things, but then also just do a lot of stuff for fun, That's great. Sir
honestly,
Patrick Stewart played the poop emoji in the Emoji Movie. Sometimes you just do stuff for fun,
honestly, was his most serious role Finding Forrester? That's like a real question I actually have about him now. I love him, but it's interesting that would be potentially his like most serious turn.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
But anyway, yeah, it's fun to see him in this regardless. Like he always delivers. He always has this amazing charisma and presence, and he brings it here too, which is unfortunate that Miles O'Keefe cannot act opposite that.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's not going to be a movie that goes down in history. I think one of the shocking things about this one too is that Weeks, what was the director's name?
Stephen Weeks.
This was actually the second Gawain and the Green Knight movie he made. This is actually a remake of one he made back in 1973. I think it was 71, 73. He just really loves the story, but I guess he only likes to start in the ending because everything else was different. But yeah,
well, like I said, you have to make up the middle part in any film. You have to make up the middle part.
It's just crazy that this was like the second Green Knight movie that he made in his career. Because usually seeing a remake is not strange, but having the same director do the same movie, 10 years later is kind of weird, but interesting. And that's what we strive for.
I love the
here.
story. And I actually, because there is no middle to the story, Doa, I actually really like it when we see film adaptations of this because it forces directors and writers to be really creative and take ideas from other Arthurian romances, which this does, by the way. And it does, I think a lot of the settings and the ideas that it takes are good, such as him being a bit of a fool or naive at the beginning. I really like the idea. Leoness is part of the Arthurian cycle. I really like the idea that there is this horn that you blow to summon this like magical guardian of Leoness. That's a very Arthurian concept.
Yeah.
So I think it has some good ideas. It's just this film is so badly executed from a tonal perspective, from a humor perspective, from a even just a combat perspective. Like, frankly, the combat in this is just bad. I mean, the fight choreography is just bad, and it's boring, and it's badly shot. Which is unfortunate.
Boring is the key term there. Where even when you have the big battle at the end, like it's just.
I mean, compare this to Excalibur.
Yeah, well, right. Well, this one's just people doing like very basic like falls and swings, and it's like, oh, you hit me, or look, wow, that guy knows how to fall off a horse.
It's a testament that they make jousting boring in this movie.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
That is hard to do. That is hard to do. But again, I will say after all of this, it was a very entertaining watch. I will give it that. So I wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone that's been following along kind of with our 1980s fantasy movie journey and isn't sure if they want to watch this one or not. The answer is absolutely yes. You want to watch it. It's great. For Miles O'Keefe's hair alone, it is worth whatever the price of admission may be, which can be zero because we did find it on the internet for free, uploaded to a certain site. So it's out there. It's out there.
It's also on MGM Plus, the streaming subscription that nobody has.
I was going to say MGM Plus. What else would be on MGM Plus?
I don't know.
Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, because I don't even think it's the Bond movies who are very famously MGM. I could be wrong. Whatever. Anyway, guys, because Amazon bought the Bond rights.
Right. So why shouldn't this should be on Amazon Prime then? Come on.
Come on.
Because they bought another franchise that was loosely associated with the production company that made this one.
All right, guys, that'll do it for us this week on Nerd Legion. Hope you enjoyed Sword of the Valiant. We will see you next time.